You know, me and my sister, we talk about wrestling sometimes, right? And we noticed something, and it's like a low key racism thing. And what we notice is black wrestlers are not utilized whatsoever. They are the most underutilized. Let me explain what I mean. Let me break this down to where, because you think, oh, black wrestlers don't. Oh, no, they are underutilized. Trust me. Let me start with the most obvious one of them all, and it's Kofi Kingston. Kofi could have been a legit star. Let me tell you how. He's a Jamaican, right? That's his gimmick. Kofi Kingston. Okay, so you mean to tell me that JBL is allowed to be a complete bigot as a stereotype? John Cena is allowed to be a complete wigger as a stereotype. The late great Eddie Guerrero was allowed to be a lying, cheat, stealing Mexican. Coming down to the ring, dropping low riders and shit, bouncing them up and down, being the stereotypical, Mexican. Like Eddie Guerrero is just as stereotypical as it gets as far as being a Hispanic, as his gimmick. Which could have, if Eddie didn't have so much charisma, if he wasn't so charming, it would have been easily annoying to watch him. He's allowed to completely be a stereotype. As I say, him, John Cena, those are the most obvious ones. In JBL, Test was allowed to beat up women. He was allowed to be a womanizer. The Undertaker's allowed to be a dead man walking, a demon. Kane's allowed to be the devil's favorite demon. Randy Orton's allowed to be a schizophrenic. He hears voices in his head. Like, the list goes on. But you mean to tell me that Kofi Kingston is a Jamaican with no accent? Like, I would have buried this guy on the mic. I'm like, and I'm not talking about the New Day. I'm talking about before the New Day, pre-New Day. I'm talking about from 2008 to like 2013. Kofi Kingston should have been coming out to the ring like, yeah, man. Kofi Kingston, man. Like, everybody else was allowed to be stereotypical. Why not Kofi? Why not Kofi Kingston? You know how over he would have been if he actually played a stereotype? And it's not even a bad stereotype. What's wrong with being a roster? At SummerSlam, I'm gonna beat you the blood clot. Yeah, man. We need peace and unity, man. Like, why not just Kofi Kingston come talk with an accent? I don't see. You're a Jamaican with no accent? What the fuck kind of Jamaican are you? Shelton Benjamin. Even with Shelton Benjamin. They could have done more with Shelton Benjamin. We talked about this as well. Shelton Benjamin. Now, he started out okay in his 04 run, but after that, pretty much just nothing they did with the guy, because I guess he doesn't have the mic skills. Well, to a degree, he kind of does. For an example, not Kofi Kingston. Shelton Benjamin could be a really good instigator. He can be that asshole black dude, which they kind of did a little bit, but they didn't keep going with it. Make him the kind of black guy who backstage, like, or his promos, he could be like a black guy who instigates a lot of shit. Like, yo, he can go to whoever he's feeding with. He could be like, yo, I heard he said this about your mom. Yo, I heard you got this, you got that. Yo, I heard, like, he could be that type of guy. He could be that instigating ass black dude. Like, that could have really worked with Shelton Benjamin. He already has it to do that. They could have really made him a sarcastic, instigating idiot. With Shelton Benjamin, that could have worked easily with Shelton Benjamin. You kidding me? Because they did some good stuff with Shelton Benjamin, but they didn't do it consistently. Like him making fun of Chad Gable or stuff like that. That could have been the bulk of his entire character, and it could have easily worked. Look how good he did with the Chad Gable thing, him being too short. Like, yo, I heard that you wasn't allowed on certain amusement park rides. Yo, I heard like that could have really worked with Shelton Benjamin. R-Truth. Once again, now R-Truth. I heard Vince McMahon likes R-Truth. Now they didn't do a bad job with R-Truth as far as him becoming completely goofy, but I think that, hey, like I said, everybody who's not black gets to completely play this stereotype. Why not make R-Truth like a thug? He could have been a legit dark-skinned black thug. Why not? I mean, John Cena could play a thug. But they water R-Truth down so much. It's like he's not even himself at all, you know. I mean, yeah, he's great at being goofy, but initially he looks like somebody who could be like a guy who smokes like a hood rat ghetto dude thug or whatever. Somebody who sells drugs and smokes cigarettes all day. Like the furthest they ever went with R-Truth was him when he turned heel on John Morrison. He smoked a cigarette. Like that's the most they really did with him. You know, in the whole conspiracy thing in 2011. 2011 was the best work they ever did with R-Truth as far as stereotyping him. But like I said, that's the furthest it goes. Other than that, he's just completely goofy and just doing little Jimmy shit. Like, come on, man. That stuff is good. I mean, at least with R-Truth, he's entertaining. At least they gave him some entertainment value, at least. So R-Truth he's probably the least example, because at least they did something with the guy. Now, let's talk about with the black women. How they actually utilize them well. It's a black man who's underutilized. Jazz. There wasn't many black women, of course, because this company is fucking racist. But Jazz, they let her completely be the ghetto stereotype strong black woman. She was allowed to do that completely. They stereotyped her to death. Why not Kofi Kingston and John Benjamin? I'm just saying. Now, Shad Gaspar and JTG, yeah, the Crime Time, yeah, they're a stereotype, but it was still watered down. They only took it but so far. Meanwhile, Jazz is completely stereotype. You know, like I'm saying, like Jazz and Shad Gaspar and JTG, like it was so watered down. Like they didn't really look and act like thugs. Like they weren't legit. Like they hardly came off as their stereotype. Jazz is a complete strong black woman, her coming down to the ring with Rodney Mack. You know, like Rodney Mack doesn't really had to do anything because it was just all about Jazz, really. You know, she had like Rodney Mack and Teddy Long were there to just make her look good. As a strong black woman. It's her stereotype. You know, you could put those two next to her all you want. You could put, Rodney Mack and Teddy Long all you want, but really Jazz is the one who really got the spotlight. So that's what I wanted to say as far as like black men not being utilized right. Their stereotypes are not being utilized correctly. Whereas if you're not black, you can go as far as you want as far as your stereotype. Like I said, look at Cena. Look at Cena, Eddie Guerrero. Complete stereotypes. But you mean to tell me that Kofi Kingston couldn't have an accent? It's a Jamaican? What the fuck?